according to these dealings, he is called certain names. Since he has innumerable devotees and innumerable relations with them, he also has innumerable names. We cannot hit on any one name, but the name Krishna means all attractive. God attracts everyone. This is the definition of God. We have seen many pictures of Krishna, and we see that he attracts the cows, calves, birds, beasts, trees, plants, and even the water in Vrindavan. He is attractive to the cowherd boys, to the gopis, to Nanda Maharaja, to the Pandavas, and all human society. Therefore, if any particular name can be given to God, that name is Krishna, adapted from Science of Self-Realization.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Okay, so we have read the entire topic. Now let us discuss what are the important points. Okay. Okay, so so can somebody tell me, what are the important points in the first paragraph? So basically, in this topic, what actually is happening is that we are actually taking the definition of Bhagavan, as described by Parashara Muni, who is the father of Vyasadeva. And so here actually there are some characteristics mentioned, and each of the characteristics are described further in the topic. I mean, in today's discussion. So that's how we are. This today's topic is organized. So, can somebody tell me, what are the important points discussed in first paragraph? So first paragraph means
I think Krishna can form in different in so many forms. I mean, the God can come with the different forms and so many different forms
yes,
to save the people or other things.
Okay.
Can come like different.
Okay, Mantesh. Yeah, that is true. So especially in the first paragraph, what is mentioned? Can you somebody tell? The first paragraph means there is a first line, then there is a shloka, and then there is one small explanation, right? So in the explanation, there are some characteristics which are described. So which actually we have to understand. Yeah.
Parasarama Muni.
Parashara Muni Mataji. Parashara.
Oh, sorry, Parasarama.
Yeah. Yes.
A father of Vyasadeva.
Yes. So basically, see, the point we have to understand is the six opulences, right? So how do we identify if somebody claims that he is God? How do we identify? How can we test whether he is God? That is the test is given here. So basically, God actually, or the Bhagavan, right? So in Sanskrit, God is actually known as Bhagavan. It is Bhagavan means one who possesses. Bhaga means opulence, and Van means possess. Like we have different names, right? Dhanavan, right? So Dhanavan means one who possesses money is known as Dhanavan, right? So like that, what other names are there in Sanskrit? Shraddhavan is there. Then can you give some examples? Some Vans.
Vidyavan,
Okay.
Balavan.
Balavan, yeah. So what Balavan means? Someone possesses Bala, right? Strength.
Strength, yes.
Yes. And somebody else can give some more examples. Kirtiman is there, but that is different, right? One. Yeah. So nevertheless, so Bhagavan actually means one who possesses all the opulences. So basically, there are six primary opulences which are defined here, right? So can somebody tell me what are the opulences mentioned here?
Yeah, like knowledge, wealth, fame, strength, beauty, and
Pronunciation, right?
yeah, yes.
Yes. So, what somebody actually sees, what Prabhupada explains is that everybody has some opulences to some extent, right? So somebody may be little rich, somebody may be little like somebody may be strong, somebody may be famous, but actually nobody can claim that he has all the opulences to the fullest extent. No, as one who possesses all the six opulences to the fullest extent, he is known as actually the supreme Bhagavan. That is how the definition of Bhagavan is given actually here, right? So this can be used to test. No, whether somebody claims that he is Bhagavan, we can check actually whether they possess all the wealth, all the fame, like that. Okay, so in the next paragraph, I would like somebody to just summarize. So basically, as I discussed earlier, see the Bhakti Viksha program is actually an interactive program. It is not a lecture. Okay, so if you want to get the full benefit of Bhakti Viksha, then all of us has to be what you call it. It has to be interactive, and all of us has to participate in the discussion, right? Otherwise, I can of course explain everything, but actually, what you should try to attempt. Maybe this topic is little difficult topic. I agree. So, but whatever is the points, in the given here, actually, we can just summarize and tell. We don't have to tell anything from ourselves. We only discuss what is given. Okay, so I would request everybody to just give some points, so that it becomes more interactive. So right now, anyway, because we are limited because of this corona lockdown and all, but ideally when we do the Bhakti Visha face to face, we all sit in a circle, and then all of us discuss openly, and so that by that kind of discussion, actually our knowledge can be enhanced more. Okay, so somebody can tell me what are the points in this paragraph.
God's riches is unmatchable. In the second paragraph, it stresses on or takes the example that Krishna had more than 16,000 wives, and it's not just possessing or having wives, but it was this interesting fact that he was present with all of them at the same time, which is not a usual human quality really.
Yes.
So it shows that Krishna had this very unusual strength and ability to be there in all places at the same time, showcasing his God strength really from in that example.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you. And that point. Yeah. So we have to discuss actually. So anybody has any questions in this topic, like in this paragraph? All riches. So basically, see, this is so what we're going to discuss. In this particular matter which we have in front of us, it's only one small part actually of the Lord's opulences, right? But actually we can see more things actually. So I have some shlokas and some references which I will show you later. But first we'll go through this shloka, right? So this actually, when we are in the beginning stage of spiritual progress, then actually it is given in a very simple form in this particular discussion. But actually, if you go to scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam, Brahma Samhita, Bhagavad Gita, we can see there are more what you call detailed explanations, more references about about the opulence of the Lord. So basically, see what actually is directly visible to us. Like suppose somebody has read Bhagavatam or have idea about Krishna's pastime, then they know about the Krishna's actually palaces, right? Krishna, when he was in Mathura, he actually and Dwarka later, so he had so much of opulences, right? So that is what actually is very very easily directly seen. But actually Krishna is the proprietor of the entire universe, right? This is actually what we see when he came to the earth is only the pastimes of the Lord manifested in the earth actually when he came, right? 5,000 years ago. But actually this is only a small glimpse of Lord's opulence. But actually the Lord is much more opulent actually, because he is the proprietor of all the universes. Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says that, what is that book? Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartade idi matva bhajante mam buddha vava samanvita. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. He says that everything, all the material world and spiritual world, everything comes from me. Right? Everything emanates from me. Hare Krishna, somebody has to mute, I think.
No, actually, I was with my husband. He's also in the session today. So we just were discussing one of the topics, what we discussed just now.
Okay,
so, can I just ask my question now?
Yes, Mataji, tell me.
Yeah, so we were just discussing 2 points before that. Krishna ji had 16,000 wives.
Yes.
So ideally, it is said that it's illicit to have more than one relationship, right? So how do we justify this?
Okay, Mataji. So this question is from you or from your husband?
I mean, both of us.
Okay. Yeah, that is why, Mataji. See, actually, it is like this, Mataji. So there are multiple answers to the question. Okay. So the Lord actually takes different incarnations. See, Krishna actually the original personality of Godhead, right? Who is the proprietor and creator of the entire universe. He actually sometimes come to the material world, right, to enact some pastimes. Okay, these are all pastimes. So when the Lord came as Ramachandra, Lord Ramachandra is known as Madhyada Purushottam, right? So when he came as an incarnation of Lord Ram, he exhibited all the qualities how actually an ideal householder should work. So he was a Maryada. He actually accepted only one wife. Okay, but when the Lord came as Krishna, actually he had many other purposes. So whenever the Lord comes, see Lord's why the Lord comes to the material world, what exactly his intentions are. All these things are very very difficult for us to understand, right? Yeah. So that is one way of looking at it. Okay. So and second thing is that see all of us, everybody in the material world, all we have discussed in my previous session that every created living entities, right? All the living entities, they are all part and parcel of Krishna. So what is the relationship? See, everybody is like a one way. If you look, everybody is like children of the Lord, right? So basically, everybody actually see everything comes from the Lord because in the original before the creation, material creation happened, only the Lord was the only person, and the Lord first expanded as actually is external potency. There are some technical terms like, for example, is a potency for enjoyment is known as something called Hladini Shakti. Okay, the Lord expands Himself, and the first expansion of the Lord is Radharani, Srimati Radharani. Okay, and then from Radharani, all the different other expansions come, like Lakshmi Devi, and then various other expansions. So this way, so Lord actually the Lord's purpose, the Lord is known as Purusha. Okay, what Purusha means, one who enjoys or enjoyer. So Lord actually has everything, the material world, everything is created for the Lord's enjoyment, and the Lord has different plans, and according to them, He's acting. That is one thing. Okay. Second point is that the 16,000 wives, right? So actually, Krishna had, see, in the olden times, if you look, most of the kings actually, at that time, it was very common to have multiple wives. It's not one wife actually, right? If you take most of the kings, right? For example, if you take Dasharath Maharaj, so Dasharath is considered as a Raja Rishi, right? In the olden times, the king was not just the king, right? They were also known as Rishi because they know the truth of absolute truth. They know how to go back. What is the purpose of human life? So that is why they were king as well as Rishi. The king is considered as Naradeva. No, king is the representation of the god in the material world, and then they are supposed to take care of their subjects. The subjects of the king are like children. Okay, so if you take Dasharath Maharaj, is actually one of the Mahajanas, right? And he's a very great personality. Dasharath actually had how many queens? Three, right? So like that, most of the Rajarshis, most of the kings in the olden times, they had multiple kings because they have that much opulence. They were able to maintain them, right? So basically, the morality standards actually, of today's world and the olden times are little different actually, right? And then with our limited this thing, we cannot fully understand the Lord's activity. That is one thing. And the 16,000 wives of the Lord, right? So Krishna's primary wives actually we know are Rukmini, Satyabhama, Jambavati, like that. There are primary wives, and the 16,000 wives actually were the princess. Actually, see the Naragasura, right? Naragasura, no? Yeah. So Naragasura actually had attacked and kept around 16,000 princes in captivity in jail, and by Krishna attacked this Narakasura, and he releases all the prince. So actually, the Lord Krishna did not have intention to marry the princess, but actually the princess told the Lord that because we were kept under the captivity of Narakasura, there is nobody who will accept us now, right? And because of this situation, the Lord accept the 16,000 princesses as his wives. So because that is what actually, see, the problem is that generally we tend to think from our perspective, because we don't think that the Lord is supreme. And from our material perspective, if you look, most of the people see why people are not able to take devotional life is because why we came to the material world we discussed earlier, right? Why we came to the material world is because of our envy to the Lord. Because we become envious of Krishna, actually we come to the material world. And in material world, most of the people are envious to the Lord. So we generally think when we see this, why Lord is like this, why is immoral, why he's trying to enjoy. So this way, and many of the activities of the Lord actually are difficult for us to understand. For example, in the Mahabharata war also, when actually Karna was actually trying to take the chariot out of the mud, actually his vehicle, I mean his chariot got stuck in the mud, and when it goes and takes it, at that time Krishna will tell Arjuna to attack him. So and then he attacks Bhishma. So there are various things actually which are very very difficult to understand. So these pastimes of the Lord can only be understood when actually we become more advanced in devotional service. So many of our acharyas, right, who are in the past, like if you take Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, and the Goswamis of Vrindavan, so they all have explained these things actually, right, in detail, and then they have studied these things in very detail. So we have to have faith that gradually we will be able to understand many of these things. But in the beginning stage, it may be a little misleading, or we think that okay, it is immoral. So I don't think it is possible to give an answer which is fully satisfying you, because that satisfaction will come only when actually we make further progress in our study of the scriptures. So in the beginning stage, actually most of us will have these kind of doubts. It is natural, but actually the important thing is that we should have faith, and then we should with that faith we should try to understand more, and finally our doubts will be dispelled.
Prabhuji, can I just add something? Not just that I have more to add, but very same question was asked to Devdutt Patnaik, and I coincidentally happened to listen that just 2 days back on the radio.
Okay.
And it was the same question, from one of his audiences, and his answer was absolutely same. And when he put it under three different points, one is all the three of which you have mentioned, and he said that we cannot judge the society then with the society now standards, and that time divorces never existed, and a lot of different things. And even there was a point in the time during the Mahabharata age when marriages were not really usual, and just like how Draupadi got married to all, and had, so all of this was suitable for that age, and our age is different and we should not see from the same lens. One is that. Second, he said, from more esoteric point of view, he said that Lord Krishna is a representative of both Purusha and Prakriti, and he has got both forms, male and female, inside him, and Radharani is but an image of that, really showcasing his feminine side, and therefore the relationship between them is more from that point of view. And the third point, he said that this relationship can be seen from Tantra as well. It's got its some of the theories are from Tantra side as well, that it caters to the understanding that spirituality should not be seen from just conventional point of view, that there are unconventional things which provokes us to think more than what we really see. For example, the fact that he had several wives, or that Radharani herself was perhaps married to somebody else, and that she was more older to him. And all of this is just to sometimes cater that we need to bring our thoughts out of the conventional things to see the unconventional form of the God. And as you rightly said, with refinement in our understanding, we get to understand this more and more, the real actual essence behind why this was said in that way, or why it happened that way. So, so that's what he said as well. So exactly, yeah.
Okay, Mataji, thank you very much. So, but I did not hear Patnaik actually, but maybe it's just coincidence that some of the points.
Absolutely same points he said, and in his own form, and it was just coincidence. Just 2 days back on radio, it was there. So.
Okay. So this is a very common question, Mataji. So not everybody see, especially people know. Especially males, actually, they when they come, they have very difficulty accepting Krishna, as supreme, because they are actually ready to accept Ramchandra, because he actually is a portrayal of Maryada Purushottam, right? So, but actually the fact is fact. We cannot actually kind of concord something and try to see. There may be possibility way of explaining which is actually not according to scriptures, but all our explanation should always be as per the scriptures. So maybe people may tell that it is symbolic, blah blah, the various ways of telling, but essentially what our Acharya says, we have to accept, right? So the simple point, actually the very simple point is like this actually. Again, just reiterating, see, actually, as I told, the scriptures actually clearly tells that we have seen that. We'll go into that in more detail, but the point is that the Krishna, actually the Supreme Lord, he is the original person, right? Krishna is known as, he's known as Govindam Adipurusham, right? Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadi Radir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. So when we understand things like how the creation happens before the creation, so in the beginning, I mean, there's no beginning or end actually. It is called Anadi Radir Govindam. So, but actually, see, for example, in the material world, this time concept is there. We have the time concept. There's a measurement of time here, but it is told that in the spiritual world there is no time, and in the spiritual world it is told that there is no past, present, right? No past and future, right? Everything is present. So these kind of things itself, we are unable to understand, right? But actually the point is that the Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He is the source of everything, right? So everything is coming from him. Not only this, see, basically the concept of male female is actually, it's a duality. It actually basically, like actually it is told that every living entity is actually the soul. Our identity is that we are the souls, because when we come to the material world under the influence of Maya, actually think that I am male. Fluctuations happen actually it is only the it's because of the Maya's influence. But actually the soul, which is a real person within the body, doesn't have any male or female, right? According to our evolution, sometimes I am male in this life, and next life I may be a female. then there's so many varieties of living images. Construction, which is the Maya solution, we have this concept. So because of this bodily concept, no, we actually distinguish this way, this male. So the point what I'm trying to say is that the Lord actually, see, the Lord, he has expanded himself into so many different forms. Everything in the material world, even all of us. That is why Krishna says that Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loge Jiva Buddha Sanadana. Right? He says that all these living entities in the material world, they are all my part and parcel. So these are all things actually which is beyond our normal understanding. Right? So when he is the proprietor of everything, that means that then he cannot marry anybody, right? Because everybody is his children. That way, if you look, no, so then it is not possible, right? So this way, it is not possible for us to understand it easily. Okay, Shelly Mataji, is it fine?
Yes, that's fine. That answers the question.
Okay. So as I told you, it will not be completely what you call. You may not be fully convinced, I feel, but it will take time. See, how we will get convinced actually is by continuing the devotional pursuit. Okay, so it will take time.
No, I think that answer when you said that he had to escape those 16,000 princesses, that point of time I feel that I'm convinced.
Am I audible actually? Is it the voice is okay now?
Yes, I can hear you. You're audible.
Sometimes no voice
I
was
can hear
breaking.
you as
So
well.
okay. So in this paragraph, no, any further questions are there?
No more questions from my side.
Okay. So, yeah. So basically, in this question, there are two aspects actually. See, one is moral aspect, that like why there are so many wives, right? So these two questions are there. So moral aspect actually, according to moral standard, wives, that is why it is moral responsibility and he has accepted it. But actually, generally, we think because generally we try to think that compare ourselves with the law. Comes having 16,000 wives, may also try more wives. If that is the thought, then the answer is that actually, see, because the Lord has done so many other activities. See, what is told, what is generally recommended is we should try to follow in the footsteps, right? We should not try to imitate the great acharyas or great personalities. So if you want to imitate, then actually we should imitate everything. So for example, Krishna has lifted Govardhan Hill, right? So if we can also try to lift Govardhan Hill, then actually then we can try to do like the Lord, right? So that is way. And Lord Shiva, he has drank the ocean of poison, right? So then some people they try to imitate Lord Shiva, saying that Lord Shiva actually takes some intoxicant. So some people actually take some drugs, bang and things like that, saying that okay, we are Lord Shiva's followers. But actually that is not a right way. That is just trying to imitate. But then they should try to drink poison also. So that way the point is that we should not try to imitate, but actually we should try to follow the footsteps. So that is there is a difference between that actually. See, whatever based on our position capacity, we should try to do. Okay, so these are the two just aspects I wanted to just touch up on related to that. Okay, so let us move on. So in the next paragraph. So the next, so one of the aspects we saw is that riches, right? So here actually further Prabhupada is describing the example of some of the rich people at the times when Prabhupada was preaching, like Ford, Rockefeller. So basically there is a general tendency that people are attracted to the people who are very rich, right? So that is one point. Then second point, then another point is about strength. So actually there are so many examples to prove the Lord's strength, right? So all the examples mostly is taken from the Krishna's pastime, when he actually appeared in this material world. Okay, but we have to understand that the Lord actually is much beyond this material world. Actually, see, the Earth, a planet which we live, is just one small part of one of the universes. And according to Vedic scripture, there are unlimited universes. And then like every Brahmanda, one universe is not as one Brahmanda. Every universe has one Lord Brahma, and then all the planetary systems are there. So when the Lord appears, like for example, every day of Brahma, Lord actually appears in this universe, in this original form. So basically, whatever knowledge we are having about the scriptures is actually from the Lord's the last appearance. The Lord last appearance in this particular day of Brahma. So we had discussed a little bit about the time concept, right? The Lord Brahma, one day of Brahma is 1000 yugas. We have the 4 yugas: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga, right? The 4 yugas together is around 42 lakhs years. So when this 4 yugas repeats 1000 times, that is one day of Brahma. So in one day of Brahma, it is told that no, there are 14 Manus and there are many other things explained. But in one day of Brahma, in every Dwapara Yuga, Krishna actually comes. Krishna incarnation happens. But only once in a day of Brahma, right? So as we just discussed, 1000 yugas are one day of Brahma. So only 1 in 1000 times, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan, he directly comes actually as incarnation in Dwapara Yuga. All other Dwapara Yuga, the Krishna which is appearing is an expansion of the Mahavishnu, who is actually one of the 3 Vishnus, Mahavishnu, or the Karanodakashayi Vishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. So one of the Vishnu actually expands as Krishna in all other yugas. Only once in a day of Brahma, the original Supreme Person, who is Krishna, who is in the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan, that original Bhagavan, who is the cause of all causes, where Lord Brahma is describing him as Bhagavan, right? So we are talking about that particular Bhagavan, who is the original Supreme Personality. That Bhagavan only comes once in a day of Brahma, actually, right? So whatever scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures is talking about this particular day of Brahma only. What most of the scriptures talks about, like Satya Yuga, different incarnations, different pastimes, they are described in Srimad Bhagavatam. So they are all actually the current day of Brahma only is spoken. We don't have information about our previous days of Brahma, right? So basically, this history of the universe or the creation is is very, very is actually beyond unfathomable, actually, right? The time scale is very, very long. So we are all the information which we have is very limited that way. That is just one point I want to just tell. Okay, so so when the Lord appears in this in Dwapara Yuga, he demonstrated his strength, by killing so many. When he was a small baby, at that time only, Lord demonstrated. Putana actually was sent when she was few months. When Krishna was few months old, Putana came to kill the Lord, right? And then Putana was killed. And then so many other demons, we can see that it is explained in Bhagavatam. That like we have so many, like what is it, Bhagasura, Agasura, right? So many asuras actually, Trinavad, so many demons were killed by the Lord. So the Lord's power actually, there is no need of further explanation. I think all of us are aware of the power of the Lord, right? So this way, Lord is all powerful. Okay, so this is just the example of the pastime as I mentioned, right? But actual Lord power is unlimited, because it is told that all the material universes comes from the Mahavishnu's body, right? The Mahavishnu is just an expansion of the Lord. It is not a direct expansion. The first expansion of the Supreme Bhagavan is actually Balram. And from Balram, actually, the first quadruple expansion, first Chaturvyuha comes. Sangarshana, Pratyubna, Aniruddha, and Vasudeva. So this is the first quadruple expansion. Then there is a second quadruple expansion. And after one of the second quadruple expansion, Mahavishnu is coming. Right, so just Mahavishnu's opulence itself is mind-boggling. It is told that when Mahavishnu breathes out, all these universes comes out from his body, from every pore of the body, and when Mahavishnu breathes in, everything is annihilated back into his body. So just imagine what is the power of Mahavishnu. So we can then what could be the power of the original Lord, right? We cannot even imagine. So this way, the Lord is actually unlimitedly powerful. Okay, and the fame, another aspect is the Lord's fame, right? So here Prabhupada is talking about the Lord's fame. For example, in the material world, in the earthly planet only, if you take, it is told Bhagavad Gita, for example, Bhagavad Gita is known everywhere in the world, right? People in all countries, every country you take, actually, Bhagavad Gita is known, and people used to read Bhagavad Gita from many, hundreds of years back itself in other countries, right? And then in many universities, actually, they teach Bhagavad Gita. So this way, Lord actually is very famous throughout the world. That is just one small example for our understanding. But actually, the Lord is so famous in not only in this earth, in the entire universe he is famous. In Brahmaloka, if you take in the higher planetary system, all the demigods, they are worshipping Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, including Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva. And in all other, this is one universe, and so many unlimited universes, Lord actually is worshipped. So Lord is actually not only famous within the earth, but he is famous across the universe, across the creation. That is another point. And about the beauty of the Lord, actually, it is explained. And again, there is no explanation required. I think everybody accepts Krishna is the most beautiful, because the word Krishna actually means, one of the meaning of Krishna, it means all attractive. He can attract every living entity in the material world, right, or in the spiritual world, everywhere. So Krishna is actually the most beautiful. That is explained here, actually, right? So Krishna's beauty form is explained, actually. See, in Brahma Samhita, there is a shloka which says, Kantarpa Kodi Kamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. right? So that shloka, what is it before that? What is it in shloka? You remember? Kandarpa Kodi Samaniya Vishesha Shobha. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Sanda Sadaiva Hrideshu Vilokani Indiyam Shama Sundaramajinda Gunaswarupam. One second. Let me just try to find the shloka. Okay, this is the shloka. Okay, this is from Brahma Samhita. So it's explains the Lord's form is explained here. Venum Kwanantam Aravinda Dalayadaksham Barhavadamsam Asidambuda Sundarangam Kandarpa Kodi Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept in playing on his flute, with blooming eyes like lotus petal, with head decked with peacock feather, with the figure of beauty tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and his unique, loving, charming millions of cupids. So basically, the most important point to note is, actually, according to our general standard, the Cupid or Kamadev actually is considered as the most beautiful person in the material creation. So here, actually, Lord Brahma, who is the first creator in the universe, he explains. He says that the Lord's beauty is like if millions of cupids, millions of Kamadevas are to come together, right? What will be the beauty of the Lord? Beauty? Actually, the Lord's beauty is much more than that. Actually, so this way, the Lord, no, there cannot be anybody. There's nobody who is more beautiful than Krishna. That is what is explained. The matchless beauty of Krishna, Supreme Personality, Goloka is being described, right? So that way, Krishna's beauty is explained. Then, what is other? Okay, then Prabhupada is giving some example of America. Yeah, then the different names of the Lord, actually, Lord has unlimited names. That is explained actually based on the different pastimes of the Lord. The Lord is known by different name. So this is another example. Then yes, so yeah, so these are some of the important points. Lord attracts everybody. So we'll go back to the beginning and see anything is missed out. So what are the different opulences? So who has full strength, that we have seen the strength actually of the Lord. Then the fame, then the wealth, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation. For knowledge, actually, it is explained the stream Bhagavad Gita, right? The knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada is saying that actually there is no such knowledge in the material creation now. Even so many scholars in many other countries, they are actually reading, trying to understand, doing research on Bhagavad Gita. Right? The Bhagavad Gita knowledge is so completely from a different platform. Right? It's from a very high platform. Actually, it's very high philosophical, very high intellectual. So Bhagavad Gita, so that is just an example. So Krishna is actually talking Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. Right? That's one example. So the Lord possesses unlimited knowledge. This is just a small glimpse of the knowledge of Lord, right? Because Krishna knows everything. He actually he knows. It is told that he knows the present, the past, and the future, everything. So that way, nobody can be having as much knowledge as Krishna. So that way, he's having all knowledge, all beauty, and renunciation. So renunciation actually means here. This is a little interesting because it may appear that renunciation is not an opulence. Sometimes people may think, right? But actually, see, having the opulence is one thing, and to be detached from the opulence is actually it's also considered as a very attractive quality. It's considered as an opulence, right? So this is also very what you call a noble character. Even though he has everything in the creation, but actually he is not attached to any of these things. For example, it is told that the material world is actually acting. Just by his glance. See, basically, just by Mahavishnu, who is one of the Purusha incarnation, he just glances the material energy, and and the material universes are created. Actually, he doesn't have to directly do anything. He just imagines or thinks. Actually, that becomes the truth. And the material world, the loss of karma in the material world, the living entity, there are so many living entities are going through different karma. All these things, actually, the Lord doesn't have to directly. He's actually detached. He's not directly involved in these activities. It is all acting independently. So that is one of the example of renunciation. And another example of renunciation is the story of actually there is a pastime of Krishna where actually Krishna actually leaves the battlefield. That is known as the pastime of Ranachor, right? So we're actually in the battle between the with Jarasandha. Apparently, in particular stage, because this is bigger plan by the Lord to actually Mujugunda pastime is related to Jarasandha. Okay, so I don't remember exactly the past time, but the point is that in that past time, actually the Lord leaves the battlefield, because generally, it is considered for a Kshatriya to leave the battlefield is not a very glorious activity. But actually, because the Lord had a different plan, no, he did not hesitate actually to leave the battlefield and go. So he is not directly concerned with the renunciation aspect. We'll actually look into that past time. I'll find out, and maybe some other session I'll discuss it. But right now I don't have it in handy. Okay, so that way, so Lord has demonstrated all these characteristics, right? He is detached from the creation. Okay, so that these are the points actually mainly we want to discuss. So now we can discuss any points, any questions we have. Otherwise, I have some more topics actually. So if there are no questions, we will go to some more references to see why Krishna is the supreme. So in this topic, what we discussed today, you have anybody has any questions? I think this is an important topic. We should clarify. Maybe whatever possible in my capacity, I'll try to answer. But otherwise, no, I'll get back to you if something I'm not able to answer. Krishna? So how did Rasandha got killed by Mujkunda? When he opens eyes? Then who was that person who killed? Okay. Okay. Harishna, devotees, any questions? I don't hear anything from anybody. Hope everybody is there till still, right? Okay. Let us go a little further. So let us go to some references actually about. Harishna, am I audible?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
Okay.
you are
Okay.
audible.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, so now we'll go through some references actually, some scriptural references where actually we get more information about how Krishna is defined as supreme. Okay, so one of the references I want to take is Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Bhagavad Puran, very first sloka of Bhagavatam, canto, first chapter. Actually, अन्वयाद् इतरदाश्चर्तेषु अपि न स्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदये आदिगवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजोमृतं यदा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो अमृषः तां स्वेन सदा निरष्टाकूकहं सत्यं परं धीमहि. So this is the first sloka. Let us see what it says. O my Lord Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, all pervading personality Godhead, I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval construction of the manifested. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he who only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge into the heart of Brahmaji, the original living entity being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion. As one is bewildered by representation of
Prabhuji, your
meditate
voice is
upon him, Lord Sri Krishna,
Voice
who
is
is eternally
breaking,
existent.
Prabhuji.
Anybody is using internet is in hotel? Just 1 second, let me check.
If he talks slowly, Prabhuji, maybe we can hear better.
Okay, let me just. Okay, should I repeat it again? 1 second. Some problem is the internet not വളരെ slow ആണ്. I'll repeat again. All pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusionary representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusionary representations of material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Is it okay now?
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So, okay.
Yes,
I don't know what. Yeah, so here actually some important points. See, of course, there is one important understanding from here is that he is the Vasudev is explaining the Lord as the supreme, absolute, and then there is no cause beyond him. He is the original cause of everything. But one very important point here, it is mentioned. This is very interesting actually, right? See what is mentioned here. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by illusionary representation of water seen in fire or land seen. So the point is that, see, some of our doubts actually, is actually because we are actually kind of illusion. See, even water, Lord Brahma was illusion actually. So understand this person Krishna is actually the original personality of Godhead, right? And then if you don't accept Krishna as the original personality of God, then Krishna's act will look actually not acceptable. But you understand that he is the supreme person, he is the source of mothers actually, because he is everything, right? So this source, there's a shloka called Avajanandidima Muda Manushim Tanumashreya. Okay,
Once again, the
I think it
audio
is
is
okay.
not good, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, so devotee is actually what I'll do now. I'll disconnect and I'll join again. No, because yeah, I'll join back in 1 minute.
Okay. Okay.
But I think there is some problem with the internet actually. So
Now it is fine,
normally it
but
should be much
whether it
better.
will be,
Today I
let's
don't know
say,
what is the problem issues there. ഇതിൽ ഇന്റർനെറ്റ് laptop Just 1 second. Yeah. Shut down. Yeah. And laptop. Connect ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടോ ഇന്റർനെറ്റ്? ഓഫ് ചെയ്തല്ലോ. Hare Krishna. Is it? I think still there is a problem. I think no.
It's better now.
No problem.
Okay, let us try.
Now we were able to hear it.
Somehow. Okay, but I think the network speed is still low. See, normally it is around 20 Mbps speed is there. Now it's only 2 Mbps it's coming.
Okay.
So I don't know what is the issue. Let us try to see if there's a problem. Please stop me. No, I'll repeat again.
Can you use your mobile
it is
hotspot
back.
or something, Prabhuji?
No, Prabhu. Now it is improved actually. See, now it is coming back. So let us try for some time.
Okay.
Okay. So now is it better? No, currently.
Yeah. Now it is better.
Okay, so please stop me if there is a problem. Okay, mobile internet will be small, slow. My Airtel connection is much worse actually. The mobile internet. So this is a broadband. See, now it's going up till 15 Mbps. No, so now I think it should be better. Okay, so let us continue. So one of you stop me if it is. So let us come back. So the point what I'm trying to say is that even the demigods are actually illusioned by the Lord's behavior, Lord's activities which are performed first time, which are performed in the material world. So that is natural that we also sometimes get bewildered, right? So Lord Brahmaji was not thinking when Krishna was performing the pastimes. Like one of the pastimes, Brahmaji was thinking whether this is the real supreme person. He was not sure. He was not able to decide. And similarly, Indra also could not understand Krishna is the supreme, right? And then that is why he did. He actually tried to, cause heavy rains in Vrindavan and try to flood it. And then later, actually, he actually begs the pardon. So this way, when demigods and so high elevated personalities are confused by the Lord's pastime, so it is natural that our normal human beings, less us, right? We are getting confused. There is no surprise in that. So that is one point actually we can understand from this shloka. The next, whether this is different. In Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, 2nd shloka. So Krishna is actually saying here, Name vidu suragana prabhavan na maharshaya aham adirhi devanam maharshinam cha sarvasaha. Neither the host of demigods nor the great sages know my origin, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and the sages. Okay, so this is another shloka in Bhagavad Gita, right? Where actually we can understand the position of the Lord. So even the demigods like Brahma and Lord Shiva, they are actually not exactly fully able to understand the Lord's position, right? So what to think, what to speak about normal living entities like us. So Krishna himself is saying in Bhagavad Gita this, right? Then in 10th chapter, shloka number 12 to 13, Arjuna is actually talking about Krishna. He's saying, so after the Krishna shows displays his opulences, Arjuna says, Arjuna uvaja param brahma param dama pavitram paramam bhavan purusham shashvatam divyam adi devam ajam vibhu ahustvam rishaya sarve devarshi naradastata asido devalo vyasa swayam chaiva bravishime. Arjuna said, you are the supreme Brahman, the ultimate, the supreme abode and purifier, the absolute truth and the eternal divine person. You are the primal God, transcendental and original, and you are the unborn and all-pervading beauty. All the great sages such as Narada, Asida, Devala and Vyasa proclaim this of you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me. So this way we can understand, from multiple sources in Bhagavad Gita we can understand that. Then in Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a shloka This is first canto, third chapter, shloka number 28. Ede chamsa kalapumsa Krishnastu Bhagavam Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mridayande Yuge Yuge. So it is mentioned here. Okay, I am not sharing the screen, sorry. I was under the impression that I was sharing the screen. After disconnecting, no, I did not share again. Hopefully now it is visible. Okay, so Bhagavatam, first canto, third chapter, 20th shloka. Ede chamsa kalapumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mridayandi Yuge Yuge. So here it's explained all of the above incarnations, mentioned incarnations, are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. But Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on the planets whenever there is disturbance created by the atheist. The Lord incarnates to protect theists. So from this we can understand of the so innumerable universes of the Lord, the Krishna actually he is the original person, quality of Godhead. No, they actually mentioned here, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So that is what actually is interesting here. The previous shloka, I think that is also interesting. Let us see what it is. 27. No, this is different actually. There is another shloka, no? Ramadi Murtishu Kala Niyamena Tishtan Nanavadaram Agarod Krishna. No. Okay, there is another shloka. I just searched the shloka. Rama, correct. That is Brahma Samhita. Ramadi Murtishu Niyama Kala Niyamena Tishtan. So this is a shloka. So okay, so now till now what we saw is that we saw in Srimad Bhagavatam how actually the Vyasdeva is explaining the Lord as the original personality. Then we saw in Bhagavad Gita how actually Arjuna is talking about the Lord as supreme. Then also Krishna himself actually is saying the shloka we saw, right? I'll again show the shloka. Name vidu suraganaya prabhavam na maharshaya aham adirhi devanam maharshinam cha sarvashaha. Neither the host of demigods nor the great sages know my origin. For in every respect, I am the source of demigods. So here actually we can understand, Krishna is the source of all other demigods. So this way we saw in Bhagavad Gita, there are multiple references, right? And Arjuna's prayer also to to Krishna we saw. Then next important scripture is Brahma Samhita, right? So Brahma Samhita, we have discussed earlier. Actually, the Brahma Samhita is the prayers of Lord Brahmaji to Krishna. Brahma is the first created, living being in the every universe. So as we discussed earlier, right? So from the body of Mahavishnu, all the universes is coming. So that is the first Purusha. First Purusha, Mahavishnu, is an incarnation of the quadruple, one of the quadruple, Chaturvyuha, Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarsana. I think from Aniruddha, I think Mahavishnu is expanded, and from Mahavishnu, when he breathes out, the innumerable universes come from the pores of his body, and in every universe, Mahavishnu expands himself and enters as Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu. Every universe. And then the third Vishnu is Kshirodaka Shai Vishnu, which is Paramatma, which is in the every living. The Lord expands as Paramatma and enters every living entity and every atom. So these are the three Vishnus, right? So from the Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu, so every universe, the Lord and Krishna and the Mahavishnu enters as Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu, and from his navel the lotus flower is coming, and the Lord Brahma is appearing is born from this lotus, right? So this way, and the Brahma actually gets the first knowledge about Bhagavad Gita, about the absolute truth, right? So that is what is mentioned in the first shloka of Bhagavatam we saw, right? Here actually it is mentioned, Tene Brahma Hridaye Adi Kavaye. So actually the first the knowledge is revealed to Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma is the first person in the universe. So there is nobody who knows the Supreme Lord better than Brahma, right? He is the first creation, and the Lord directly reveals the knowledge to Brahma. So Brahma has composed the prayers about the Supreme Lord, known as Brahma Samhita, right? And this Brahma Samhita actually has many cantos and chapters, but all of them are lost. Only the one of the chapters, actually fifth chapter, I think, was recovered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 500 years back from Adi Keshava temple from South India. Right, in Brahma Samhita, actually we can see very clear, vivid descriptions of the Supreme Lord. And Brahma Samhita also talks about the spiritual world, the Goloka Vrindavan. Right, so this is a very interesting scripture actually, Brahma Samhita. right? So here, so in the first sloka of the 5th chapter, Brahma says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. Brahma says that Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. So here Brahmaji is very clearly telling, right? Ishvara Parama. So there are many Ishwaras. Who is the Parama Ishvara is Krishna, and he is not impersonal. No, actually there is a school of thought which says that the supreme is impersonal, or it's Brahman. It's only light, but that is not true. Brahmaji is saying that he is a person, and his form is Sachidananda Vigraha. Right? Vigraha means form. Then who is is there any cause for the supreme? No. Is there any beginning? No. Is there any end? No. Anadi Radir Govinda. There is no beginning or end. And he is Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all causes. Right? So this is very, very nice explanation Brahmaji is giving. And the entire Brahma Samhita is very, very interesting. Okay, then the next shloka, which we normally read in Brahma Samhita, which is the one. Yeah, so one of the shlokas which we are discussing, right, is Ramadi Murtishu. This is another shloka which is coming from Brahma Samhita. So it is told, where is the shloka? Yeah. Point 39 it is. 39. Yeah. So here is saying Ramadi Murtishu Kala Niyamena Tishtan Nanavadaramakarodh Bhuvaneshu Kindu Krishna Swayam Sambhava Paramapumanyu Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. What it means? I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna and the different avatars in the world in the form of Rama, Narsimha, Vamana, etc. as his subjective portion. So what is interesting here is he's saying that Ramadi Murtishu Kala Niyamena Tishtan. So basically the Lord actually takes so many incarnations. Nanavadaram. So there are unlimited incarnations. Akarodh, Bhuvaneshu, Kindu. But he's saying Kintu, Krishna Swayam Sambhava Padaman. So Krishna, even though there are so many different incarnations, but Krishna is the supreme person. He is the Swayam Bhagavan. Krishna Swayam Sambhavat Paramapumanyo. He is the supreme. So from this we can understand that Krishna is actually source of every other incarnation. Right? So this way there are many interesting things actually in Brahma Samhita. Then about one important thing, you actually see the question about how the universes are created from the body of Krishna, right? Mahavishnu. So that actually also there is a shloka. Let me try to find out that. Yeah. So this shloka, Yasya Prabha Prabhavado Jagadanta Kodi Kodis Ashesha Vasudha Vibhudivinnam Tad Brahma Nishkalam Anandam Ashesha Budam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose effulgent source of non-different Brahman mentioned in the Upanishad, being differentiated from infinity glories of the mundane universe, appears as invisible, infinite and limitless. So here actually this part is very interesting. See, Yasya Prabha Prabhavado Jagadanta Koti. So Jagadanta Koti means the unlimited Koti, like crores of universes. Yasya Prabha, from him actually all these universes emanate. Yasya Prabha Prabhavado Jagadanta Kodi. Kodi Asesha Vasudha Vibhudi Binnam Tad Brahma Nishkalam Ashesha Budam Govindamadi Purusham. So all the universes are emanating from him. And there is one more shloka. No? Where is that shloka? Jivandi Vilaja. What is the shloka? Is there, no? Roma Vilaja. Jagadanda Nada. What is the shloka? Let me try to find out. Okay, I'm not able to find because this shloka is not done yet. Jivandi Loma Vilaja. What is the shloka? You remember? Can you just find out? This is the one. 5.48. So here actually is explanation of how the material universes come from the body of Mahavishnu. Okay. So here, this is a shloka. Yasyaiga nivasita kalam atavalambya jivandi loma vilaja jagadandanada Vishnur mahansa iha yasya kala vishesho Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Brahma and other lords of the mundane world, appearing from the pores of the hair of Mahavishnu, remain alive as long as the duration of one exhalation of the latter Mahavishnu. I adore the primeval Lord who, so here actually this is explained, right? So Nivasita Kalam means, no, Nivasita Kalam means this is the breathing time. of Mahavishnu. Yasega Nivasita Kalam. That is the breathing time. Atavalambe. The Jivanti Loma Vilaja. Jagadandanada. So from every pores of the universe, of the body of the Mahavishnu, actually the universe are coming. Right? That is the shloka. And so this way we can understand, right? Yeah, here this is the shloka. I think the previous shloka also it is there. Yakarnarnava jale bajrisma yoga nidramananda jagadanda saroma koba adara shaktim avalambya param sumurtim govindamadi purusham tamaham madami. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who assuming his own great subjective form, who bears the name of Shesha, replete with all accommodating potency and reposing in the causal ocean with infinity of the world, in the pores of his hair enjoys creative sleep, yoga nidra. So here the explanation is not fully given, but you can understand from this shloka, right? So it is explained that Karnarnava Jala. So this is the Karana of the Shaiva Vishnu or Mahavishnu. Karna, he is lying in the Karna ocean, no? And he is lying in the Yoga Nidra. And what is happening? Ananda Jagat, Ananda Soma Romakoma. So Romakoma means the pores of the body, and Ananda Jagat, so unlimited universes is coming out from the pores of the body. And he is the Adara Shaktim, Avalambe. So this way, Brahmaji has explained clearly in Brahma Samhita, right? That actually, he is the Supreme Lord. And then also, actually, it is talking about a spiritual world also. Maybe you can go through this later, but right now, because of time, we cannot go through all of them. So how can we know that Krishna is in the Goloka? So here actually, it's explained in this shloka. Oh, this is a different shloka. We don't. 1 second. One more shloka is there. Goloka iri nivasati agilatma Buddha. What is the shloka, This is different actually. Goloka eva nivasati agilatma Buddha. .37. Hare Krishna, so do you think that I'm going too much into shlokas, or should we go back to the normal discussion?
Whatever you decide, Prabhuji, however you guide us.
It's boring. My wife was saying, you are talking too much shlokas, it may be boring for others, like that she was saying. No. So I just want to check. Others, what do you say, Mataji's? Is it too much?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay, so this 5.37 actually it is described Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pradibhavibhavis Tabirya Eva Nijarupadaya Kalabi Gologa Eva Nivasatya Gilatma Buddho Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So here actually we can understand that the supreme absolute truth is residing in Goloka. Right? I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own abode realm, Goloka, with Radha resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of ecstatic potency possessed of the 64 artistic activities in the company of her confident Sakis, embodiment of extensions of her bodily form, premated and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual. So the words are a little very hi-fi, but actually the point where you have to understand is that here actually Brahmaji is saying that the original abode of the supreme absolute truth is Goloka, and also there are descriptions of Goloka actually in Brahma Samhita. Okay, Chindamani Pragara Sadmashu Kalpa. What is that shloka? Chindamani Pragara Sadmashu Kalpa Vriksha Lakshartesh. What is it? Do you remember? Chindamani, no? Chindamani Pragaras 5.29. So this shloka is very interesting actually. So what is saying is, see, there are more descriptions which I will not go through, but I now you know that you have to find this information, right? You go to Vedabus and you can look for Brahma Samhita and you can read actually in detail. But I just want to touch up so that today's topic is related. So here it is telling Chinda Mani Pragara Sadmashu Kalpa Vriksha Laksha Vriteshu Surabhi Rapipalayantam Lakshmi Sakasra Sadasambhrama Sevyamanam Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending the cows, yielding all desires in the abodes, built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affected by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmi. Okay, so the word Chintamani means transcendental gem, Just as Maya builds the mundane universe with the 5 material elements, so the spiritual Chit potency has built the spiritual world of transcendental gems. The Chintamani, which serves as material in building of the abode of the Supreme Lord Goloka, is far rarer and more agreeable entity than Philosopher's Stone. The purpose tree, this is actually the Kalpavriksha they are talking. The spiritual world is full of Kalpavriksha, and it is full of cows, Kamadhenu. So these are all the things, they are giving descriptions about the spiritual world. We will not go into detail today because that is not the main topic. Okay, so then what else actually? Yeah, so this is the form of the Lord we have seen, right? It's very beautiful. It's also explained in Brahma Samhita. Now I just want to read just one more shloka. So we have seen how Vyasdev is explaining about the Lord's as Supreme Personality, Lord Krishna how he's explained himself in Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna is telling, then the sages are telling, Lord Brahmaji is saying. Then we'll also see one shloka, one place where Lord Shiva actually is explaining that Krishna is supreme. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 24th chapter, the entire 24th chapter is about the prayers of Lord Shiva, where he describes about Krishna. Okay, so one of the shlokas I just thought of discussing, where actually Krishna's name is directly mentioned. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 24th chapter, 42nd shloka. Lord Shiva is saying, Namasta Ashishamisha Manave Karanatmane Namo Dharmaya Brihate Krishnaya Kundha Medase Purushaya Purnaya Sankhya Yokeshwaraya Cha. My dear Lord, you are the topmost of all, bestower of all benediction, the oldest and supreme enjoyer amongst all enjoyers. You are the master of all the worlds, metaphysical philosophy. For you are the supreme cause of all causes, Lord Krishna. You are the greatest of all religious principles, the supreme mind, and you have a brain which is never checked by any condition. Therefore, I repeatedly offer my obeisance unto you. Okay, so this is just one shloka. Okay, in this chapter, if you go, the entire chapter, right? Chapter 24, if you take, this is chanting of song sung by Lord Shiva. So the entire chapter, Lord Shiva is actually glorifying Krishna. Okay, so if you go, you can just see after the initial slokas, there's a conversation between the king and his sons actually goes, Prachetas actually go for meditation. And at that time, he meets Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva actually advises the Prachetas how to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so there actually, if you go down, where the sloka starts. Yeah. So actually, first the glories of Lord Shiva is explained here. Vidura is saying, of best of Brahmanas, it is very difficult for living entities engaged with the material body to have personal contact with Lord Shiva. Even great sages who have no material attachment do not contact him, despite they're always being absorbed in meditation. So Lord Shiva is actually the topmost devotee of. Lord Shiva is known as Vaishnavanam Yadashambhu. He's the topmost devotee of Krishna. Okay. So Lord Shiva is the most powerful demigod, second only to Vishnu. He's self-sufficient, although he has nothing to aspire for the material world. For the benefit of those in the material world, he was always busily engaged everywhere and is accompanied by his dangerous energies like God Kali and Goddess Durga. I think we have to go to the point. Okay, here descriptions. Pracheta. Lord Shiva became very pleased with Prachetas. Okay, so here actually Lord Shiva is advising the Prachetas, the 10 sons of Prajina Bari. Yeah, so here actually from here the Lord Shiva's prayer will start, from 28th sloka onwards. So somebody who actually has any doubt, actually they can go and read these slokas from 28th sloka onwards, how Lord Shiva is glorifying. Okay, so this is the shloka. So in the first sloka only he's saying, Ya Paramam Ramahasha Sakshat Triguna Jiva Samnidat Bhagavandam Vasudevam Prabhanna Sapriyo Hime. Lord Shiva continued, any person who is surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the controller of everything, material nature as well as the living entity, is actually very dear to me. He's saying like that. So this is the first shloka he is saying. Then actually there are many shlokas. I don't want to go into all of them. Okay, so I would suggest that you can you at least note the link in vedabase.io. If you go, you can see all the books actually, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Brahma Samhita, all the books are there. So if you go to Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 24th chapter, just note down actually. So if somebody wants to go in more detail, you can see how Lord actually, Lord Shiva is glorifying Lord Shiva. Many places, Lord Shiva addressed Supreme Personality of Godhead with the following prayers. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, all glories unto you. You are the most exalted and self-realized souls. Since you are always auspicious for self-realized, I wish that you be auspicious for me. You are worshipped by virtue of all perfect instructions you give. You are a super soul. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you as a supreme living being. My Lord, you are the origin of the creation by virtue of the lotus flower which sprout from your navel. You are the supreme controller and sense object, and you are also the all-pervading Vasudeva. You are the most peaceful, and because of your self-illuminated existence, you are not disturbed by the 6 kinds of transformation. Okay, so with that, I think yeah. So and the other things are also explained, Aniruddha and all. So the point is that now we can categorically understand if you are ready to believe the scriptures, then actually we can find there are so many scriptural references. All the greatest demigods, they are actually glorifying Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. So we should not have any doubt, right? Though we may find it difficult to understand the pastimes of the Lord's pastimes in the material world, they are all bewildering or confusing to the living entity. So one of the things is that, see, because the living entity has come to the material world because of the envy of the Lord, right? Because they want to enjoy independently, the design of the material world is that naturally the living entity will remain envious of the Lord. Unless and until they are purified and their envy is destroyed, we will actually not accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality. It's very difficult for somebody. See, anybody who has accepted Vasudeva as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, actually they have begun their journey back to the spiritual abode, right? So other people who are not made progress in the devotional path, they actually find it very, very difficult to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality, because actually that is the design. Because you are envious, we will not have attraction to the Lord, right? So only Lord only wants who are very, very serious, right? Who are fully fixed, who are purified, to come back to him. So that is why Lord's activities appear very bewildering, and people will be confused, and they will not be easily able to accept the Lord. But by the mercy of other devotees, actually, somebody who is not qualified also, they can actually be benefited by hearing the pastimes of the Lord, and gradually they become purified. But it is not wrong. No, everybody will have doubts in the beginning of our spiritual journey. But actually, we should have faith in scriptures, and then gradually, when we become purified, then actually we understand the pastimes of the Lord. Otherwise, it is very, very difficult. No, actually, Krishna has mentioned, as we saw, even for the great demigods, right? It is very difficult to understand Krishna, right? So what is the shloka actually? When Krishna appears in the material world, Avajananti Mamuda, right? Avajananti Mamuda. So this actually shloka Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 9.11 that it is very difficult for people to accept the Krishna Supreme. Right? He himself is saying, Krishna says that Avajananti Mamuda Manushim Tanu Mashritam Param Bhava Majanando Mama Buddha Maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend to the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be. From other explanation of previous verses in the chapter, it is clear the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although appearing like human being, is not a common man. The Personality of Godhead who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the complete cosmic manifestation cannot be human being. Yet there are many people who consider Krishna to be merely powerful man and nothing more. So that's why if you just think that Krishna is yet another powerful person, then actually we will be certainly bewildered, and all his activities we will not be able to understand. So when we accept that he is a supreme person, then only we can understand his pastimes, his activities, right? So that is why it is very difficult. And one more thing, Krishna also says that it is very difficult to understand. And second thing, Krishna says that what is that actually? Sambhavami Atma Maya. Also, Krishna says that anybody who understands the pastimes of the Lord, right? They will not take birth again. Yeah, this is sloka is Janma Karma Chame Divyam. So these are both the parts actually. See, one who understands and one who doesn't understand. So one who understands Krishna, actually, it is very difficult to understand Krishna. But when one see what it says, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, Evam Yo Veti Tattvataha, Tyaktva Deham Punarjanma, Naiti Mamedi So Arjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in the material world, but it attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. Right? So this way, so that is why it is little difficult actually. It is not easy. What is Sambhavami Atma Maya? Mame? Sambhavami Atma Maya. Okay, Prabhuji. Thanks for attending. Ajobi Sannavya Atma, Bhudanam Ishwaro Bisan, Prakritim Swam Avastabhya, Sambhavami Atma Maya. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all sentinel beings, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So here the part is Sambhavami Atma Maya. So this actually means that the original Lord is directly appearing, directly in the material world. Okay, I think with that actually, let us complete this discussion. We'll go to the other parts. We have to chant, and then we have to read the preaching is essence, right? These two parts are. So any questions are there till now? So I think today we took more time than usual. Sorry for that. Somebody wants to leave, they can leave. Otherwise, whoever wants to continue, they can continue. Hare Krishna. Okay. So somebody can read the Namamrita. Hare Krishna.
The
The Krishna unquestioned. Okay.
Yeah, Madhavi Mataji, you started reading, you can read.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Mm.
The Krishna conscious movement is killing the demonic mentality of the people by the chanting of the holy name. Whenever God incarnates, he has two missions as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. There, Krishna says, whenever I appear, my mission is to deliver the pious devotees and to annihilate the demons. When Krishna appeared,